the 11th Asia-Pacific Forum for Sustainable Development. My name is Ling from the UNESCO Regional Office in Bangkok, and I'm very honored today to serve as your MC for this important occasion. And now, without further ado, let's begin our event by inviting Ms. Soo-hyun Kim, the Director of the UNESCO Regional Office in Bangkok, to grace us with her opening remarks. Director Kim, please.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone, and Honorable Madam Cynthia K. Chan, distinguished delegates, youth representatives, dear partners, and friends. I am delighted to welcome all of you to today's event, where we'll explore how together we can pave the way toward a greener future through education, especially as we navigate intersecting crises, the climate crisis and the learning crisis. Alarmingly, experts estimate that 244 million children will be deprived of access to education this year alone. Meanwhile, 1 billion children worldwide are at significant risk of bearing the brunt of the climate crisis, jeopardizing their health and hindering their capacity to learn. Nearly 90% of the global health burden related to climate change is borne by children under 5. With young children in the climate-vulnerable Asia-Pacific region facing an unequal burden across all nurturing care components. The Climate Change Education Ambition Report Card paints a sobering picture. All nations globally are falling short of integrating climate change education into their national strategies. Although 53% of national education curricula globally touch upon climate change, the absence of comprehensive data on effective implementation is concerning. Ensuring that every learner is prepared to take on the adverse effects of our current climate crisis calls for a sector-wide approach. We must reach learners from early childhood development to higher education and throughout lifelong learning. Youth engagement is paramount in this endeavor. Initiatives like the Ocean Cleanup, led by 18-year-old Boyan Slat, highlight the power of young minds in tackling environmental challenges. We must become catalysts for change in our communities and beyond. Education, especially at a young age, plays a pivotal role in addressing climate change. UNESCO's Green School Asia program exemplifies this, promoting climate change education to instill critical thinking and action among students, teachers, and parents. However, there remains a gap that we need to bridge. While most teachers recognize the importance of teaching climate change, many feel ill-equipped to do so. UNESCO's International Task Force on Teachers for Education 2030 aims to address this gap by providing teachers with the necessary tools and support. Environmental and sustainability education must be integrated into school curricula to cultivate a sense of responsibility and encourage sustainable behaviors. This includes, of course, promoting renewable energy use, waste reduction, and eco-friendly practices. The Transforming Education Summit, which was held in 2022, as many of you may recall, underscored the need to rethink education for the 21st century. High-level political commitment and multi-stakeholder engagement are essential to drive this transformation forward. I would like to highlight some overarching points for further discussion by our distinguished panelists, also to path and charter a way forward in the next months and years to come. One is there is really a pressing need to integrate education for sustainable development across all levels of education. And this means from early childhood to tertiary education and, of course, lifelong learning. 2, we need to really equip our teachers with the necessary tools to implement innovative pedagogies focused on practical, hands-on environmental and sustainability education so that children become change agents who will be able to influence and teach their parents as well. 3, we really need to elevate education and education for sustainable development to high-level dialogues, including the Summit of the Future that is coming up, will be held in New York in September this year. And we need even more cross-sector cooperation to mainstream and apply the many innovations that we have today. Let us please together reaffirm our commitment to creating a sustainable future for generations to come. As John F. Kennedy once said, one person can make a change, and everyone should try. Let us heed these words and work together towards a greener, more sustainable world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Kim. Moving forward, we have a video message from Mr. Roger Yap Chow Jr., Assistant Director of the Education, Youth and Sport Division at the ASEAN Secretariat. May we play the video message, please? Thank you.
Distinguished speakers, panelists, participants, good afternoon. Education is a key climate solution, and it has been seen one way or the other in the ASEAN region. The ongoing development of the ASEAN Environmental Rights Framework highlights that young people and children have the right to meaningful participation in decision-making in climate action. It also integrates discussions that all people have the right to environmental education. The Declaration on Digital Transformation of Education Systems and the ASEAN Leaders Declaration on Early Childhood Care and Education in Southeast Asia stated that there is a need to transform education to address the challenges of its rapidly changing society, and that relevant education needs to contribute to significant development and acquisition of skills, competences. It is also necessary to reiterate that we have to start education for climate action and environmental issues as early as possible to showcase the need and understanding of various environmental challenges and situation and contexts, so that changes at personal, national, regional, and global level can be undertaken that contributes to addressing the challenges of the climate challenge. Climate solutions can start from anyone, any organization, any country, and it can be global. As such, education is particularly utilizing a lifelong learning framework that facilitates understanding changes in action to address the climate climate challenges is necessary. Let us work together towards greening the future through and with education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roger Chow, for the inspiring words. And now, lastly, but certainly not least, it's our privilege to welcome Congresswoman Honorable Maria Cynthia K. Chan, Vice Chair of the Committee on the Welfare of Children, House of Representatives from the Republic of the Philippines, to deliver her remarks.
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and most importantly, the future generation guardians of our planet, the young people of the Asia Pacific. Good afternoon. It is with great honor and a deep sense of responsibility that I come before you today. We gather at a critical juncture in our history, where the echoes of climate crisis reverberate across our region, threatening the foundations of our societies and the well-being of our children. As the lone district representative of Lapu-Lapu City and the senior vice chairperson of the Committee on the Welfare of Children in the Philippine House of Representatives, I have witnessed firsthand the impact of climate change on our young people. A couple of years ago, Lapu-Lapu City faced the devastating consequences of Super Typhoon Ray, which left our city without electricity, limited access to necessities, and impassable roads. The typhoon forced schools to transform into evacuation centers, highlighting the vulnerability of the youth who bore the brunt of the catastrophe. Young people suffer disproportionately in such crises due to vulnerable living conditions, disrupted education, and reliance on external support systems. The conversion of schools into evacuation centers exposes them to psychological stress, while limited access to essentials threatens their well-being. These challenges, stemming from dependence on external structures and unique needs, underscore the importance of addressing the vulnerabilities of the youth in building resilient communities amidst climate change. However, amidst these challenges, a beacon of hope shines through education. Today, we explore the transformative power of education as a climate solution. By equipping our children with the knowledge, skills, and critical thinking necessary to understand and confront this crisis, we empower them to become architects of a more resilient and sustainable future. The theme of this event, Building a Greener Future and Education as a Climate Solution, resonates deeply with the mandate of the Committee on our Welfare of Children, and we are committed to ensuring that every child, regardless of background or circumstance, has access to quality education that includes climate change awareness, environmental stewardship, and adaptation strategies. This side event presents a vital opportunity to share best practices and innovative approaches for integrating climate education into national curricula, down to ensuring that it is being implemented in our schools. We need to amplify the voices of young people who are leading the change on climate action. We also need to forge strong partnerships among policymakers across the region and the world, educators and communities to ensure systemic change. Let us remember the children of today are the heirs of tomorrow. By investing in their education and empowering them to become climate champions, we pave the way for a greener, more equitable, and sustainable future for all. I am confident that the discussions held here will spark transformative ideas and pave the way for concrete action. Together, let us build a future where knowledge empowers and education unlocks the solutions to tackle the climate crisis for the sake of our children and generations to come. Daghang salamat, which means thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you for gracing us with your words of wisdom. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the first part of our photo session today. To commence, may I kindly request the presence of all panelists, moderator, and also our organizers to come on stage to join us for a group photo. And at the end of our event today, we're going to have another group photo with all participants. All panelists, moderator, and organizers. Thank you for the photo. Now we move on to our panel discussion. Before we begin, I'm very pleased to introduce our moderator for this session, Kun Antonia Mandry, Education Specialist at UNICEF East Asia and Pacific Regional Office. Antonia Mandry has been working in the field of education since 2002. Her work focuses on international educational development, and her expertise encompasses a diverse range of areas, including climate-smart education and comprehensive teacher training. Kun Mandry, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ling. Welcome, everyone. I'm very pleased and honored to be here with you today. I would like to take the opportunity to invite all of our panelists to the front, to the stage, while I introduce them. So we have today 5 panel members, and I'm honored to introduce them. We start with Anita Paudel, the Program Director for Sustainable Development and International Relations from the National Planning Commission of Nepal. We also have, as you heard from before, the Honorable Cynthia Chan, the Vice Chair, Committee on the Welfare of Children, House of Representatives from the Republic of the Philippines. We also have Monica Buddha, our youth representative from Plan International. And I would like to point out also that Monica's advocacy extends to the empowerment of girls and women, emphasizing the importance of education as a catalyst for change. We also have Ms. Mao Rima, who is passionate about and committed to making positive impacts in her community. And she is the World Vision Children and Youth Club leader from Cambodia. And then finally, we also have Ms. Dipali Gupta, who is the Advocacy and Partnership Specialist, Asia Pacific Global Partnership for Education. So I would like to ask the audience actually to give a big round of applause to all of our panelists. All right, just to explain how this panel will work, we have 60 minutes for our panelists. If there's time at the end, we will take questions from the audience, both the in-person audience and the online participants. Each panelist will get 2 questions, but in 2 rounds. And we've hopefully developed questions that flow nicely into each other. Excuse me. Each panelist will have 3 minutes to answer each question they have. We do ask that we try to stick to those 3 minutes in order to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to speak. We have a timekeeper. Can the timekeeper raise her hand? There she is in the back. So if she will show 1 minute and then time is up. We also have one panelist who will be using the skills of a translator interpreter. So we will be giving a little bit more time for that panelist. So without further ado, let us start with our first question for Ms. Anita. The first question is that Nepal is conducting an SDG review and is in a process for the VNR, including children's perspectives. So, Ms. Anita, could you tell us a little bit about how Nepal is progressing on its SDGs and the VNR, and especially with the focus on how children perceive this progress made against the SDGs?
Thank you, Antonia, for the question. And thank you, organizer, for inviting me in this auspicious occasion. Coming to the question, Nepal has recently conducted a second consecutive progress assessment of SDGs implementation in Nepal. It covers the period from 2016 to 2022, as we surpassed halfway of implementation of SDGs, which is expected to reflect on progress, issues, and challenges in implementation of the global goals. Nepal has attained 42% of its targets against 2030 targets. The overall progress of Nepal compared to the regional and global benchmark is satisfactory. Despite this achievement, serious interventions are warranted to achieve the targets of global goals because when we dive deeper into the goals, the level of progress is divergent, ranging from deterioration from 2016 baseline to surpassing 2030 targets. For example, we have achieved more than 50% of the target in indicators relating to child malnutrition, such as underweight and stunting, whereas anemia is still prevalent in more than 40% of the under 5 children, which would have implications in their future endeavors, learning, growth. Similarly, access to education has improved, whereas further effort are required to improve learning achievements. Coming to the VNR process, after successfully preparing the national review in 2017 and 2020, Nepal is all set to present its third VNR this year at the high-level political forum of sustainable development. The VNR process, which is a crucial means of ensuring accountability toward the achievement of SDGs and provide an avenue for identifying areas that require urgent attention and intervention, is well complemented by the national and international partners. The engagement in the VNR process is going hand in hand with the government effort in terms of updating the SDG national report, reviewing SDG implementation mechanisms, assessing progress, and identifying challenges and way forward. Consultations with the key stakeholders, such as the line ministries, other governmental institutions, representative of private sector, cooperative, non-governmental organizations, members of civil society, youth, women, and children are ongoing. These consultations are being organized not only from government side, but also from non-governmental stakeholders, which is an instrumental process for us to generate a common VNR report owned equally by the government and the stakeholders. Here, I would like to appreciate the effort of Save the Children for their active engagement in formulating a child-focused SDG review report. We anticipate through this process to gather children perspective in the analysis of progress against SDG. In terms of content of the VNR, it will not only reflect the process and progress, but also on the future strategies and action to be taken up for realizing the global agenda of the sustainable development through its alignment into the 16th development plan, which is in process of formulation. So I thank you here, and then we'll be happy to take up further questions if audience have any. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss Anita. 3 minutes is not really enough, but I think we got a good taste. And then perhaps at the end, if there's more time, we can dig a little deeper. So let's move on to our next distinguished panelist, the Honorable Cynthia Chan. The next question is for you, ma'am. The question is, the Philippines is heavily affected by frequent natural disasters. How does legislation, such as the RA 10821 or the Children's Emergency Relief and Protection Act, support the continuity of services, especially education for children, including those who are displaced? How can a climate accountability bill catalyze progress towards SDGs, as well as address rights issues more comprehensively, including education? Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, indeed, the Philippines faces numerous natural disasters, and ensuring the continuity of services, especially education for affected children, is crucial. The Children's Emergency Relief and Protection Act, or Republic Act 10821, actively supports climate adaptation for young people through, number one, child-friendly evacuation centers, by ensuring their basic needs are met with minimal disruption by establishing centers with child-friendly features like separate latrines, bathrooms, and play areas. Number two, we have temporary learning spaces in nearby locations or evacuation centers, which enables continued education even during displacement. Number three, we have prioritized psychosocial support by helping children cope with trauma and rebuild normalcy. Long-term recovery is being ensured by the following: Comprehensive Emergency Program for Children, or RA 10821, establishes the CEPC, a framework for disaster preparedness, response, and recovery for children, which ensures children's specific needs are addressed throughout the recovery process. Via school rehabilitation and reconstruction, the CEPC allocates funds for repairing and rebuilding damaged schools, prioritizing child safety and accessibility. Catch-up programs that encourages implementing programs to help children who miss school due to disasters catch up with their peers. We also have child-friendly information and communication. By providing child-friendly information about disaster preparedness and response, CEPC empowers children to participate in their own safety and recovery. So overall, RA 10821 provides a valuable framework for supporting children's education during and after disasters. However, its effectiveness depends on addressing funding, coordination, and community engagement challenges. Thank you, Antonia.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. So the importance of legislation and that framework is really illustrated very well in your example. Thank you so much. Let us now move to a perspective of our youth representative from Plan International Nepal, Monica Buddha. Monica, what is the impact of climate change on youth and girls' education specifically?
Thank you so much. नमस्ते, म मनिका हुँ, हिमालयको मुटु नेपालको एक युवा कार्यकर्ता। यो ठुलो मञ्चमा नेपाल विशेष गरी कालीकोटको प्रतिनिधित्व गर्न पाउँदा म धेरै नै खुसी छु।
Namaste, I'm Monica, a youth activist from Heart of Nepal. I'm so happy to represent Nepal, especially Kalikot, in this big forum.
नेपाल प्राकृतिक सौन्दर्यले भरिपूर्ण राष्ट्र भए पनि हाम्रो वातावरणीय परिवर्तनले सामना गरिरहेको छौं।
Nepal is a nation with natural beauty, yet we are facing the environmental changes.
यसले पहिले बालबालिकाहरूलाई चाहिँ नराम्रो असर गरिरहेको छ, विशेष गरी चाहिँ गरिब देशहरूमा जो जलवायु परिवर्तनका लागि सबैभन्दा कम जिम्मेवारी हुन्छ।
It is impacting girls first and worse, particularly in the poorest countries which are least responsible for this climate change.
बालिकाहरू विशेष गरी ग्रामीण क्षेत्रमा प्राय जसो जलवायु संकटमा सबैभन्दा जोखिममा हुन्छन्।
Girls, particularly in rural areas, are often the most vulnerable in this climate crisis.
अविरल वर्षा र बाढी पहिरोले विद्यालय बन्द हुने गरिएको छ। कहिलेकाहीँ यसले विद्यालय, सडक आदि लगायतका अधिकांश पूर्वाधारमा पनि क्षति पुर्याएको हुन्छ।
Due to heavy rain, flooding, and landslides are regularly causing schools closure. Sometimes it damages to wider community infrastructures, including schools, roads, etc.
नेपालमा जलवायु परिवर्तनका कारण हरेक वर्ष विद्यार्थीहरूले 3 महिनासम्म शिक्षा गुमाउने गरेको अनुभव छ। विद्यालय खुले पनि बालिकाहरू विद्यालय जानबाट चाहिँ रोकिएका छन्, किनभने उनीहरूले घरैसी काममा सहयोग गर्ने अपेक्षा गरिन्छ।
In Nepal, it is estimated that students are losing up to 3 months of education every year due to climate disaster. Even they are open, girls are prevented from getting to school as they are expected to help with household responsibilities.
पाठ्यपुस्तक वा सिकाइको सामग्री क्षतिग्रस्त वा नष्ट हुँदा बालिकाहरू झन् दुःखहरू पाउँछन्। विद्यालय छुटेको कारणले सिकाइमा गम्भीर असर पर्छ, जसले गर्दा पढाइ छाड्न बाध्य हुन्छन्।
Girls suffer even more when textbook or learning materials are damaged and destroyed. Missing school cause severe consequences for learning that forced to drop out the education.
मेरो आफ्नै कथा यहाँ सेयर गर्न गइरहेको छु। नेपाल सामान्यतः जुनदेखि अक्टोबरसम्म वर्षा हुन्छ, तर गत वर्ष चाहिँ फरक थियो।
I have my own story to share. In Nepal, the rainy season usually occurs from June to August. However, last year it was different.
हामीले अक्टोबर 2022मा भारी वर्षाको अनुभव गर्यौं, जसका लागि हामी तयार थिएनौं, र त्यसै बेला हामीले हाम्रो सबैभन्दा ठूलो चाड दशैं बनाइरहेका थियौं।
We experienced heavy rainfall in October 2022, for which we are not prepared, and we are celebrating our biggest festival, Dasai.
यो अप्रत्याशित वर्षाले हाम्रो दैनिक जीवनमा बाधा पुर्यायो। हाम्रो समुदायमा पूर्वाधार र सडकहरूमा क्षति भयो।
This unexpected rain disrupted our daily lives, damaging infrastructures and roads in our community.
यसले मेरो स्व-अध्ययन गर्ने क्षमता पनि असर गर्यो, किनकि मैले यो चुनौतीपूर्ण समयहरू मेरो आमा बुवालाई सहयोग गर्नुपर्ने थियो।
It also affected my ability to focus on self-study, as I had to support my parents during this challenging time.
म यहाँ एक प्रतिनिधि मात्रै हुँ, तर मेरो ठाउँमा धेरै बालिका यस्तै चुनौतीहरूको सामना गरिरहेका छन्।
I am just one representative here, but many girls from my place have to face this similar.
नेपालमा सांस्कृतिक मान्यता र सामाजिक भूमिकाले जलवायु सम्बन्धी प्रकोपको बेला बालिकाहरू थप दबावमा परेका छन्।
In Nepal, due to cultural and societal roles, it can add extra pressure on the girls' education during climate disaster.
आगामी 2 वर्षमा जलवायु परिवर्तनका कारण प्रत्येक वर्ष 12.5 मिलियन भन्दा बढी चाहिँ बालिकाहरू विद्यालयबाट पढाइ पूरा गर्नबाट वञ्चित हुने अनुमान गरिएको छ।
It is predicted that more than 12.5 million girls may be prevented from completing their schooling each year because of climate change in the 2 next years.
यद्यपि बालबालिकाहरू शिक्षामा लगानी भनेको देशको जलवायु उत्पन्नशीलता सुधार गर्नु सबैभन्दा शक्तिशाली साधन हो। धन्यवाद।
However, investing in girls' education is one of the most powerful solutions to improving the country's climate resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, for that story and those experiences. Actually, for me, it was very interesting to also hear about the personal aspect as well as your advocacy. So thank you very much. Now we move to Ms. Maurima. Ms. Rima, your question is, why is climate education important for children and young people? And how are you specifically actively engaged in climate actions and education initiatives?
Thank you. We are living in the same planet, and you know that the floods, the pollutes air, and strong winds are the consequence of the climate change. And the quality of the air that we breathe is caused by the climate change. For instance, in my village, we have a fast flood that happens maybe once or 2 weeks during the raining seasons, and it's happened because our villagers, they threw their garbage away, and it stuck on the water flow into the water tunnels, and our village is full of polluted water. It's very effect for the human health, especially children's, and they cannot go to school because of the floodings, and their parents cannot go to work, as well as our youth team, they cannot do anything because of the floodings. So by educating yourself about the climate change, you are engaging to develop your skills and knowledge to to have the environment and have our planet. So climate change is something that our parents may not mention to us, but it is crucial about our health, our food security, and also our living conditions. So climate educations help us to become advocates for the environment. When we understand about the issue, we can we can speak up, we can take actions and protect the environment. Thank you. And I have another one question. And I'm sorry. I have been engaging with my teams. We have the team at our community, and we always discuss about the climate change together at the weekends. We draw a map, our village map, so that we can find the most sensitive place in our village. We brainstorm the solutions. Kids are our future, so we need to educate them. We teach them about the climate change, making it fun with games or can be short performance. We also have the parent involved so that in order to have climate change, we need their involved so that we can have the climate together. And we also take action. We have campaigns, cleanup campaigns, or can be a workshop that we do in order to promote the climate change, and we want to have and protect the environment together. Thank you.
Thank you, Rima. A lot to unpack there, and I think we'll have another round of questions where we'll be able to explore a little bit more. So thank you very much. And now let's end the first round of questions with Ms. Dipali Gupta. The question for you is that GPE supports countries to strengthen their education systems and is advocating for education systems to be more climate smart. Can you share some examples of partnerships on climate smart education systems?
Thanks, Antonia. So I think as we've been hearing today, climate smart education systems can serve as powerful tools for adaptation and mitigation efforts. And we've also been hearing today about how the climate and education crises are deeply connected. So on the one hand, climate change is undermining the hard work by countries to ensure that children are in school and learning. Just last year, for example, Cyclone Mocha wreaked havoc in Myanmar, damaging 80% of school infrastructure just before the start of the new school term. And on the other hand, projections show that if education progress is stalled, then disaster-related fatalities will increase by 20% per decade. So if we don't educate today's children, where will we find the innovators to build a greener society? And where will we find the skills that we need for a new green economy, as well as the leaders and the change agents that can help their countries and their communities adapt? So at GPE, we're putting climate smart education systems at the core of our work and trying to create the change that we hope to see. About a third of our education grants have a component focused on building resilience and climate action. And to give you an example, we're supporting Lao PDR to integrate climate resilient design into their early learning facilities. So this includes things such as improving drainage for flood control or in drought-prone areas, water harvesting and recycling, and also planting trees so that we can prevent school areas from landslides and erosions. So our experience has been that there is interest from our partner countries to do more to make their education systems climate smart. And so in partnership with Save the Children, UNESCO, and the International Institute for Education Planning, we're expanding our technical support to 22 of the most climate vulnerable countries through the Climate Smart Education Systems Initiative. So at its core, this initiative is really about helping the next generation to understand, adapt, and innovate in a world increasingly impacted by climate change. And it aims to strengthen a country's capacity to integrate climate change into their education plans, strategies, and budgets.
So it includes a range of activities, including strengthening ministry capacity to coordinate across sectors for environmental and climate policies, as well as evidence-based policy and planning, and also promoting safer and greener infrastructure in schools. So these are just a few of the examples of partnerships that GPE is working on.
Thank you, Deepali. That's a lot to unpack there as well. Thank you so much also for emphasizing the learning crisis and how the systems actually have to be strengthened. I especially appreciated the example from Myanmar where natural disaster related to climate as well as ongoing conflict really strip away the opportunities of children to access their right to education. Let us move on to round 2 of the questions. And we will return to our esteemed colleague, Ms. Anita Paudel. And your next question is, what is Nepal doing to address those gaps in the SDGs implementation that you mentioned, especially in regards to education and climate?
Thank you for the questions. As we have heard from our esteemed panelists, they have highlighted some of the issues they are facing, some of the solutions we could go with. So in context of Nepal, as we all know, we are apart from like climate change related challenges, we are facing other challenges such as the impact of pandemic, economic slowdown, demographic transition, rapid migration and urbanization. All these challenges are intertwined, and the government of Nepal is taking a number of steps. Among them, I would like to highlight few. Firstly, Nepal is currently revising its SDG need assessment, costing and financing strategy. As we have heard earlier that financing the education is key solution for mitigating climate impact and achieving SDG goals. So the strategy is being reviewed because from its first review, the situation has really changed, and we want to know what are the gaps and how we could mobilize more finance in SDG implementation, including implementation of goal 4 and 13. There are some approach where we are discussing on, for example, innovative financing solutions such as public community partnership in local infrastructure development are being explored. Secondly, the 16th development plan of Nepal is being formulated, and which have recognized the need of integrating the sustainable development goal, climate change, biodiversity, related things in the plan. So we are aligning these things in the 16th plan along with green, resilient and inclusive development strategy. Thirdly, different sectoral policies and programs are playing pivotal role in advancing development aspirations of people. For example, in education sector, the government of Nepal has implemented the school sector development plan, which was implemented based on SWAP strategy. So, sorry, the time is quite limited. I have a lot of stuff to share. And then the framework, the national framework has been revised recently and is in implementation, which have which is trying to ensure inclusive and equitable education through promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. And this is backed by the national framework on implementing the SDG 4. It has duly mainstream climate component in school education sector through policies such as revising the curriculum, improving pedagogy, and climate resilience school infrastructures. Likewise, the government of Nepal has taken a number of steps to integrated climate change component in school sector, such as developing curricula and climate change vulnerability and risk. Actually, the school curriculum was revisited in 2019, integrating climate change component in school education. We have national adaptation plan as well, and then that seeks to develop climate resilient critical infrastructure such as public buildings and hospitals. Also, I want to highlight another aspect of climate change. We should be equally responsible in reducing the carbon footprint. And then there are some example in Nepal. For example, we are transitioning to clean energy in macro level, and we are implementing school zoning, green school programs in the micro level. Likewise, certain schools in the capital city are transitioning to carbon neutral operations, which could be taken up as an evolving good practice. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Anita. I've actually taken notes, and I think I will have some questions at the end where you will have the opportunity to give more detail. I promise. So let us move on to Congresswoman Cynthia Chan for your second question. Can you tell us, Congresswoman, what are the current initiatives and future plans of the Philippine government to strengthen the link between education and climate?
Yes, thank you. The Philippine government recognizes the crucial link between education and climate change and has various initiatives underway and plan to address it. So like the integration of climate change into the curriculum, the Department of Education, or DepEd, has developed and integrated climate change modules into various subjects like science, math, disaster risk reduction, which aims to raise awareness and equip students with knowledge and skills to address climate challenges. We also have school-based adaptation programs like Adopt a Mangrove program, which encourages schools to participate in climate adaptation activities like tree planting, soil conservation, and disaster preparedness skills or drills. We also have climate change education campaigns. DepEd, in collaboration with various agencies, implements campaigns like Brigada Eskwela and Klima Aksyon sa Paaralan to raise awareness among students, teachers, and communities. We also have scholarship training programs like Green Teacher Education Program, which is offered to support educators in integrating climate change concepts into their teaching and developing climate resilient communities. The future plans of the Philippine government, among others, is to strengthen the curriculum integration. The DepEd plans to further refine and expand the integration of climate change across all subjects and grade levels. Promoting climate-friendly schools, initiatives like Green School Program aims to make schools models of sustainability through energy efficiency, waste management, and climate smart practices. Capacity building for teachers and communities. We have training programs and capacity building initiatives that will continue to equip teachers and communities with the knowledge and skills to address climate challenges. Research and development. The government plans to support research and development on climate change, education tools, methodologies, and best practices. So while these challenges or initiatives showcase the government's commitment, challenges remain because we have limited resources. Implementing these programs requires adequate funding and human resources, which can be constrained. Teacher training, more comprehensive training is needed for teachers to effectively integrate climate change into their teaching. Sustaining climate action requires active community participation and ownership, which needs to be further encouraged. But despite these challenges, opportunities exist through collaboration, partnerships between government agencies, civil society organization, and the private sector can leverage resources and expertise. Okay, it's a final, sorry. The Philippine government's current initiatives and future plans aim to create a generation equipped to understand, adapt, and mitigate climate change. By addressing the challenges and leveraging opportunities, the Philippines can strengthen the link between education and culture or climate, ensuring a more sustainable future for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. I'm taking copious notes, and I think I will probably take some time for myself at the end. Let's move on to Ms. Dipali for your next question. It's heartening to hear actually some great examples of these initiatives that are underway that you mentioned, these partnerships. We've heard that climate financing, however, is not very child responsive. According to this, only 2.4% of climate finance responds specifically to child-related needs. UNICEF being the child rights agency, we're very concerned about this. Ms. Dipali, how can that be improved and be used to support education and children's learning outcomes?
Thanks, Antonia. Excellent question. And so even within this 2.5% of climate financing that does respond to children's needs, education-specific projects are negligible. And this is surprising and unfortunate because climate-smart investments in education are smart investments. So to truly move the dial on this, the first thing we need is to build political will. And at COP28, 40 countries signed on to the groundbreaking Declaration on the Common Agenda for Education and Climate Change. And this was the first time that the critical link between education and climate action was recognized at this global political level and acknowledged as being foundational for a sustainable and a resilient future. So the declaration sets the stage for three things. Let me run you through these. Increasing commitments from countries to integrate education into their national climate strategies. Next, making education strategies climate smart. And finally, it encourages financing to create systems and students that are climate ready. But what does that mean for all of us in this room? That we now need to build on this momentum. Governments and donors need to invest more in adapting education systems to climate change, but also on safeguarding the right to education within their wider climate efforts. And this doesn't just apply to education, it applies to all critical children's services, from early childhood care to nutrition to health to child protection. So the second thing we need to make climate financing more child responsive is more partnerships with climate stakeholders. And GPE was proud to announce at COP that we're working with Save the Children and the Green Climate Fund to support governments to deliver on the ambitions for greener education systems. So this initiative is called the Building the Resilience of Children and Their Communities Through the Education Sector, or just BRACE for short. And through the BRACE initiative, we're aiming to accelerate community resilience by investing in climate adaptation through the education sector. And our initial co-investment of 70 million in seed funding will be used to do this in 3 countries to start, and that's Cambodia, Tonga, and South Sudan. It's also encouraging that actually a country in our region, Japan, contributed some funding to this, and it's the first GPE donor to soft earmark some funding to the climate and education nexus. And so then finally, the third thing we really need is to build capacity within the education community as well. And to do this through the BRACE initiative, we will support even more countries and ready them to access climate financing, especially for comprehensive school safety strategies. And the project will also provide a coordination platform where countries can come together with other partners, with other donors, to learn from each other and to accelerate even more climate finance into the education sector to ensure that all children are resilient and protected.
Thank you, Dipali. Let's move on to our youth speaker, Monica Buddha. Monica, thank you so much for sharing in your previous answer some of your experiences in Calicut. I would like to ask a follow-up question. So as a youth activist, would you also further share your experiences on youth-led climate actions, specifically climate adaptation interventions? Do you have also any recommendations for the decision makers for climate education and youth actions in favor of the children's and youth's needs? Over to you.
थ्याङ्क यू एक्टिभ चेन्ज च्याम्पियन अफ चेन्ज भएकाले मैले चाहिँ हाम्रो रोजाइ हाम्रो आवाज आवर भोइसेस एन्ड आवर चोइसेस परियोजना मार्फत छलफल भएका सहभागिता हुने अवसर पाएको छु यसमा म स्पष्ट भएँ कि युवा सरकारले विशेष गरी जलवायु परिवर्तन सम्बन्धी सरकारले सम्बोधन गर्ने आवश्यकता छ
As an active champion of change, I had the opportunity to engage in many initiatives of Our Voices and Our Choices project. And it became clear to me that addressing youth concerns, especially regarding the climate change, is crucial.
मेरो ग्रुप सँग मिलेर हामीले चाहिँ किशोर किशोरी र युवाहरूमा जलवायु परिवर्तनले पारेका चेतना जलवायु परिवर्तनले पारेका चेतनाहरू जगाउने सक्रियहरूको रूपमा भाग लिएका छौँ हामीले र्याली अन्तर्क्रियात्मक र सडक नाटक जस्ता गतिविधिहरू आयोजना गर्ने जसलाई उनीहरूले प्रभाव कसरी कम गरेको छ भन्ने सचेतना गर्यौं
Together with my group, we actively participated in raising awareness about the impact of climate change on adolescents and youth. We organized many activities such as rallies, interaction, and street drama to educate others on how to mitigate the impact of climate change.
हाम्रो फोकस व्यावहारिक समाधानहरूलाई प्रबन्धमा थियो जस्तै सिँचाइको लागि फोहोर पानीको पुनः प्रयोग शौचालयमा प्रयोग गर्न लागि वर्षाको पानीको सङ्कलन विद्यालयहरूमा रूप रोक्ने र वन संरक्षण आदि
Our focus was on promoting practical solutions like reusing of wastewater for irrigation, collecting rainwater for toilet use, and planting trees in schools, and conserving our forests.
यी सबै पहलहरूमा हामीले थाहा पायौं कि बालबालिका र युवाहरूमा जलवायु परिवर्तन र यसका असरहरू बारेमा सीमित चेतना छ
Throughout these initiatives, we discovered that children and youth have limited awareness of climate change and its implications.
यसबाहेक युवाहरू स्थानीय र राष्ट्रिय स्तरमा निर्माण प्रक्रियामा कम संलग्नमा भएको पाइन्छ
Moreover, youth are seldom involved in decision-making processes at both national and local level.
यहाँ मसँग निर्णयकर्ताका लागि केही सिफारिसहरू छन् नम्बर 1 मा रहेको छ तीव्र रूपमा परिवर्तन हुने जलवायु परिवर्तनले ल्याएका चुनौतीहरूको सामना गर्ने युवाहरूका लागि तयारी बनाउने उनीहरूलाई जलवायु परिवर्तनको बारेमा शिक्षित गर्न आवश्यक छ तसर्थ विद्यार्थीहरूले पाठ्यक्रममा वृहत जलवायु शिक्षामा समावेश गर्नुपर्छ
Educating young people about climate change is essential to make them ready to tackle the challenges imposed by rapidly changing climate. So comprehensive climate education should be integrating in the local school curriculum.
हरेक तहमा नेता र निर्णयकर्ताको जलवायु नीति तर्जुमामा कार्यान्वयन र मूल्याङ्कनमा युवाहरूको संलग्नता गराउने सक्रिय रूपमा कदम चाल्नुपर्छ
Leaders and decision makers at every level should proactively take steps to engage youths and children in the formulation, execution, and evaluation of climate policies.
युवाको नेतृत्वमा जलवायु परियोजना र पहलका लागि कोष र स्रोतहरूको प्रदान गर्नुहोस् जसले युवाहरूको जिम्मेवारी र संलग्नताको भावनालाई बढाउँछ
Provide funding and resources for youth-led climate projects and initiatives which help a sense of responsibility and engagement of youth.
जलवायु सम्बन्धी कार्यलाई सहकार्यको अवधारणा सिर्जना गर्ने युवा समूहलाई शैक्षिक स्थान र सहकारी निकायमा बीच आवश्यक छ
Collaboration between youth groups, education institutions, and governmental bodies to create a collaborative approach to climate action is needed.
अन्त्यमा म के भन्न चाहन्छु भने जलवायु परिवर्तनमा सबैभन्दा बढी योगदान गर्ने देशहरू समुदायहरूलाई उत्थानशील बनाउने र जलवायु सङ्कटको समयमा बालबालिकाहरू उनीहरूको शिक्षाको अधिकार प्राप्त गर्ने मद्दत न्यून आय भएको देशहरूलाई सहयोग गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने आशा राख्दै भन्दछु धन्यवाद
At last, I would like to say that the country who contribute the most to climate change should support to low-income countries to make the community resilient and to help girls to realize their rights to education during climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. Now over to Ms. Rima. As a young leader, what are your recommendations to decision makers and even to intergovernmental bodies in relation to addressing issues related to a healthy and sustainable environment?
Thank you. As a young leader, I have some recommendations that I have been thinking so far with my teamwork. And the first one, integrate climate education into the school curriculum system so that we can learn more about the climate change and we can share our experience or our knowledge to our family, community peoples, and our youth team. We also can change our habits and the behaviors of mindset, and we learn more about the environment situations in the world. Second, we want to walk the talk. Please invest and support our climate action by fundings or material or can be idea. Sometimes we have a plan or we have a workshop that we want to do, but we need your funding, your material, or you can be your ideas to support us on the our plans. We know that we have a full potential, but we need a boost to make it more reality. The third one, please include us in national and international climate discussions. We know that we have an idea or we have an experience we want to share to all of you, especially as a young people, we have a fresh perspective, an idea or solution to the climate change that we want to share. And you may consider or not, but we want to share our idea and our perspective. The first one, we need a platform to share our climate finding, idea, or innovations. It's kind of network that we want to work with another youth from different country, and we want to share our idea or experience of our doing climate change in our country, and we want to share to another youth from another country, or we can have a exchange learning from each other. So it become a network that we can work together to help protect and save our environment. And the last one, please support our community-based climate actions. You know that we want to change from the small thing, like we want to educate our community people so that they can help us to protect the environment. So we want to start from our community people to protect and help. So that's all of my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rima, and thank you to all the panelists for both sharing your experiences, your opinions, and also the recommendations. I think we've heard a lot of commonalities among the panelists, including perhaps most recently the emphasis on curriculum. But we also hear that it's actually really more of a holistic approach, and an intersectoral one as well. I think climate itself is intersectoral. So, for example, in UNICEF, we are the child's rights organization, but we have multiple sections. Those of you who know our organization know that we have a health section, an education section, a child protection section, social policy. Why is that? That is because all of these things, like climate, intersect a child's life and either facilitate or create barriers to their rights. So I find personally the recommendations that are coming out of this panel very meaningful, and I see that collaboration and those opportunities as something we need to leverage. But I will stop talking about myself for a moment. I'd like to hand over to our audience. We do have some time left to take questions or comments directed either at the entire panel or at a specific panel member. I do know that we have also some online participants, but let's take in-person participant questions first. So who do we have who's brave? who wants to raise their hand? All right, the gentleman in the back in the, or that's you, yes, in the beige jacket. If the microphone's not working, perhaps you can stand up and project
test.
your voice.
Hello. Uh, Good afternoon. So I am Raj from the Philippines. I'm part of the Red Alert Network and the Generation Hope campaign of the Save the Children Philippines. And I am also a student leader under the Department of Education of the Philippines. So my question is, do you think your country's education curriculum sufficiently, inclusively, and effectively integrates climate and environmental action and information? Does this address the current climate crisis? If yes, how do you say so? And if not, what must be improved on this matter in the education sector of your countries? So that is my question. Thank you.
Raj, are you asking every single person on this panel or specifically some?
If we can, from the adult representatives of the panelists, so from the Nepal, the Miss Congresswoman Chan and Miss Gupta, if possible.
All right, shall we start with Nepal?
Thank you. That was a great question. And the question is it sufficient or is it inclusive and adequate enough to address all the aspects of climate change, its mitigation measures and adaptation measures? So in my view, the curriculum of school has pretty much incorporated these aspects of climate change in the school curriculum. But the biggest challenge for us is whether the teachers are actually able to translate those curricular content to the students, and are the student taking up enough knowledge is envisaged by the curriculum, whether the curriculum the curricular content is understandable or comprehensible to all the children who are like from who start to learn from early child education to the university level. So what I think is, given like we have limited resources in terms of continuously revising the curriculum, continuously updating the teachers on the current progress, continuously giving the necessary equipments and environment to inculcate those curricular content into to translate them in child's to so that they could change their behavior in adaptation and mitigation. So that resource constant in terms of training the teachers, providing the pedagogical materials and providing reasonable environment is challenge for us. And then we are that's why it's of utmost importance that we have adequate financing for SDGs, we have adequate financing for teachers training and adequate probably adequate human resources who will be able to translate those curricular content into the real learning of the students. So that's my view. Thank you.
All right, maybe Congresswoman Chan.
Yeah, I already mentioned earlier. We do already have modules in place in our curricula, but I think that it takes more than a village to raise a child. It takes the whole community, it takes family, the local government, the school, to really raise awareness and make a concerted effort to mitigate climate change, to prepare everybody from disaster. To really, it's not easy. And with the limited resources of our country, we are trying our best, and we hope that everybody gets to participate and really be mindful and be aware of what's happening in our world, you know, the climate is changing every year. I mean, it used to be, as mentioned, that it's not raining, a rainy season in these few months, but now we have a deluge of rain, you know, in dry months. And now I thought that our El Nino was gonna be end of November last year, but now it's going to be, I hear news that it's going to be worse in April and May, this coming, you know, few months. So really, it's a difficult situation we're in. We also have to do our share to really save our planet, you know. We need more discussions, more actions from each of our government. So I hope I was able to answer your question.
I think we have one more adult, as Raj said, on the panel. Deepali?
Sure. Just quickly to say that it's encouraging to hear the actions that Nepal and Philippines are taking. And of course, there's a lot more work to be done globally on this. Since I'm not representing a country, I'll just say from GPs and that we will continue to support with technical support and also to encourage more partnerships on the financing that's required to do this. Thank you.
All right, so we have about 4 minutes left, I believe. Sorry. We have online questions. I actually want to I want to request that the next question, whoever we choose, is directed at our youth representatives, since now we had one question that went to our adults. So put down your hand if your question is not for youth. You can keep your hand up if it is for youth. And Danting, do we have a youth question online? Because we took one from the room. Now don't worry, keep your hand up just in case. Do we have a question for our youth from the online participants? We do. Okay, can you read it out loud?
Yeah, sure. This is a question for Rima. Are there any scope of work from the youth jointly with local government and civil society organizations in your community? If yes, please share some of the experience.
Thank you for the question. We have been working with the local authority also. When we have the plans or the meeting or workshop, so we need to ask for the local permissions, and they give us about the idea, how can we organize it, and what where can we organize the workshop. So we have been working with local authority. Thank you.
And I think it's a question that could also be directed at Monica. What do you think, Danting? Yes? Monica, would you also like to chime in from your perspective?
यो जलवायु परिवर्तनले चाहिँ हाम्रो देश नेपाल लगायतकै
फुल कोलाबोरेसनमा केही काम गर्न सक्छौँ भन्ने भनेछ म त अघि पनि अवेरनेस रेजिङमा चाहिँ हामीले
यो हामीले चाहिँ गभर्मेन्टसँग चाहिँ हामीले यो काम गर्न सक्छौँ, किनकि युवाको अहिलेको युवा भनेको नै भविष्यका कर्णधार हो भन्ने बुझ्नुपर्छ। अहिलेका बालबालिका नै भविष्यका कर्णधार पनि हुन्। त्यसैले चाहिँ युवालाई र बालबालिकालाई जुनसुकै कार्यक्रममा पनि सहभागी गराउनुपर्छ। सबै नीति निर्माण गर्दाखेरि गभर्मेन्टले भए पनि अनि बाहिरी इन्टरनेसनल भएको पनि सबैले चाहिँ सहभागी गर्नुपर्छ।
Because youth are ambassador of the future, and they can lots of things. So we can mobilize youth. Government leaders can mobilize the youth in awareness raising activities together.
All right, I would like to take this moment. We have reached the end of the hour, and we do have now, we're going to move on to the closing remarks and then another photo session. But there will still be opportunity after that for you to approach our panel members. I'm speaking on your behalf, sorry. and ask follow-up questions. I think that's one of the points of this panel, is to spark that discussion, and it doesn't end when the session is over. So I just want to ask for a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much. And I would now like to hand over to Mr. Shaheen Chuktai, the Regional Advocacy and Campaign Director, Asia Regional Office, Save the Children.
Thank you very much, Monica. Antonia. I was just thinking about Monica at the other end of the table. Yes, that just popped into my head. But it's a real privilege and a pleasure to be here. And it's been so interesting listening to all the fascinating insights and stories and observations from all the countries featured here today, listening to the progress that's being made in recent years, and also the initiatives that are underway and the future plans that you have. And we look forward to things like the climate bill that's coming up in the Philippines as well. I feel I feel a personal connection to some of the countries that have been featured here today. So 17 years ago, near the beginning of my development career, I was actually based in Nepal, in Kathmandu, where I lived for 2 years, and I became familiar with the complex hazard profile that Nepal faces, and some of the similar hazards are faced by other countries in the region as well. This day, 10 years ago, I was in the Philippines. I was an aid worker, part of the international aid effort responding to Super Typhoon Haiyan, which remains today the second most powerful storm ever recorded. And it caused a lot of devastation at the time, but it was also a glimpse into a frankly terrifying future where such devastating storms could become commonplace and more frequent, affecting many countries around the globe. So this is why it's so important that we use every tool that we have available in this global fight against the climate crisis. So climate education, as we've heard today, plays a crucial role. And I won't recap everything that you've heard today, but I'll just highlight a few points and add a couple of thoughts of my own. So climate education plays such an important role because firstly, it helps to foster environmental awareness. So it helps to equip students with the knowledge and understanding that they need with respect to environmental issues, including the causes and the impacts and the solutions to those issues. And this helps to encourage sustainable behavior, for example, biodiversity conservation, energy efficiency, reducing waste. And that can have society-wide effects. It also promotes critical thinking and problem-solving skills, which we're going to need by engaging with these intersecting topics. And we've heard about the intersections today between climate science and social justice and green skills and technology. Students can gain a holistic understanding of sustainable issues, and they can then learn how to apply innovative solutions that can then drive sustainable development forward. And it also promotes active citizenship and civic engagement, and learning about these linkages between the social and environmental and economic factors. We can enable students to better recognize the importance of collective action and advocacy. And we've heard from Monica and Rima as well about the importance of youth action. In fact, I would say that arguably in the last 10 years, young climate activists and campaigners have done more than anyone else to drive the topic of the climate crisis up the global media agenda and by extension, the global political agenda. So it makes sense for us to support the potential, the capacity and the growth of such effective champions and allies. So to achieve this, we've heard that we all need to work together, governments, international agencies, civil society organizations, the private sector, communities and their children. And it's so important to ensure that we amplify the voices of children and incorporate their perspectives when we're developing policies. We need to ensure that climate education is not just added to curricula in a superficial way or in a siloed way, but is integrated effectively. And it should be integrated not just at the primary level or the secondary level, but across all sectors. We've also heard that we need more child sensitive, climate sensitive financing. So I'd like to end by thanking our esteemed representatives from the Philippines Congress and Nepal's National Planning Commission, Cynthia Chan and Anita Pardell, and remotely from the ASEAN Secretariat, UNESCO, UNICEF, GPE, Plan International, World Vision International, for their participation here today, but also for the productive partnerships that we have with each other. I'd also like to thank the audience present in the room and the larger audience that we have online. Thank you for your participation and your questions. And let us recommit ourselves to the goal of effective and empowering climate education for every student, in every community, in every country. Thank you.
Yes, so I think we're going to have all the participants to come over this side. So you may stay at your seat and we'll just have the panelists to sit over here. Yeah, so we're going to take a group photo. So so all participants, please stay at your seat.